uh, you have taught about this to us, so that will be there in the module 4, right? Module 4
Ha.
quiz.
See, if that is not done, s- uh, that has to be done, or some will take one lecture on Verilog system. Verilog. Actually,
Before holidays, you had, I think, you had taken one lecture on.
if I take a lecture, then will not conduct anymore, because the fifth module will be requiring. Last time required 9 lectures, and including today's lecture, we have only 8. So already we are running shortage for lecture. I mean, fifth module, right? So I am leaving on you. Do that. So far, Verilog and system Verilog, as you said, I have taken one class. So I'll not continue further in that. But yes, if some of the students put a request, then I can take an extra class in the evening. That is up to you. If I get a mail or WhatsApp message with the timing and date, I'll take the class, right, in the evening. But will not waste these lectures, because fifth module is totally untouched. We have to start and finish. It is totally different things also, unlike digital. Here we have these topics: basic NMOS, CMOS, gain stages and their frequency responses. That's the main topic. Under that, we have to study MOS, amplifier topologies, biasing, regulation of current sources, then various methods of designing CS amplifiers, like CS stage with resistive cascade stage as an amplifier, then general frequency response. These many topics are to be covered, and as you can see that this has been taken from 3 chapters of a book. 3 chapters. Chapter number 7, as you can see here, up to here, and then chapter number 9 and 11. They are mentioned there, so you can very well understand. So it is a compressed 3 chapters compressed in one module, and it is going to take really a good effort to complete this syllabus. So still you are open. I'm ready to take extra class for whatever is left over, any uh, for the fourth module. Okay, you put a WhatsApp message or mail for the extra class timing and date. I'll conduct the class. Is it clear to you, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Now we'll basically initially we'll review the fundamental things for circuit analysis, like Thevenin theorem or that kind of things, uh, KCL, etc. Then basics of MOSFETs once again we'll review. Then we'll start the stage amplifier. Okay. Here we are going to see how to measure the input and output impedances of a two-port network. Here, as you can see in the diagram, to find out the input impedance, what you are doing, you are connecting an external source. This is an external source, and finding out the current Ix, which is entering into the two-port network here. And we are going to find out the Rin. Okay, Rin we are going to find out. Vx divided by Ix gives you the input resistance, looking from this side, left side to the block here, two-port network. Similarly, for output impedance, you also connect a Vx external source, measure the current, and Vx by Ix gives you the output resistance. But for that, certain things to be remembered. Okay, what to be done? Some, you can say, simply rules or methods to adapt. What are those? If you read it, you will understand this. The importance of IO impedances encourage us to carefully describe the method of measuring the input-output resistances. As with the impedance of two-terminal devices such as resistors and capacitors, the input or output impedance is measured between the input or output nodes of the circuit, while all independent sources in the circuit are set to 0. Are you understanding? Here, in this circuit, of which you are finding out the input resistance or output resistance, you will have some sources, voltage source or current source, independent. So those has to be made 0. Suppose if you have a voltage source, how you are going to make 0? Voltage source can be made 0 by putting a short. Okay, here you see in the figure B, voltage has been, because all the amplifiers, if you see, say MOS-based amplifier, what you do in the input, you apply a input voltage, that is VGS. Okay, and that voltage controls the current flowing through the MOSFET. Okay, and you get the output current, and hence correspondingly you get the output voltage across the load resistance, right? So amplifiers are driven by voltage source, and that voltage source has to be definitely shorted so that it becomes 0. Okay, so recall that a 0 voltage source is replaced by a short and 0 current source by an open. This thing you remember. Okay, if there is a current source, that has to be opened, then only current is 0. In case of voltage source, you have to short it, then only voltage is 0. That concept has to be remembered. The reader may be wonder why the output port in this figure B is left open. Figure A left open, this one is left open, whereas the input port in figure this one is shorted. Why it is done? For measuring the input and output resistance, it has been done, but why it is done, that is to be understood. Since a voltage amplifier is driven by a voltage source during normal operation, as I said, that voltage you are applying, input voltage you are applying at the gate of a MOSFET, VGS. Okay, and since all independent sources must be set to 0, the input port in figure B must be shorted to represent a 0 voltage source. That is, the procedure for calculating the output resistance is identical to that used for obtaining Thevenin impedance, Thevenin resistance of a circuit. In this figure A, what do you see? On the other hand, the output remains open. Output remains open. It is unloaded. Okay, because it is not connected to any external sources. Determining this transfer of signals from one stage to the next, input-output impedances are usually regarded as small signal quantities, which implied that the signal levels are indeed very small. Okay, delta VG and delta ID. I mean, the changes are very small. Corresponding to that, you get the resistance or delta ID or delta VDS, very small quantities. So we sometimes call AC resistance. Okay, delta ID by delta VDS is what? GDS. One upon that is RO. Once again, I will read delta ID divided delta VDS is nothing but what is that? ZDS. We call it ZDS, output conductance of a MOSFET. And these quantities are very small. And 1 upon GDS equals to RO is called sometimes AC resistance. AC resistance of a output resistance or AC resistance. Because why we call AC? Because of the quantities are very small, and hence we call it. For example, input impedance is obtained by applying a small change in the input voltage here and measuring the resulting change in input current. Here, one example is shown. The topology depicted here represents the equivalent circuit of an amplifier. We are going to deal with amplifier, so things are gradually appearing as like a amplifier small signal model. Okay. The dependent current source I1 is equal to a constant Gm multiplied by voltage across R pi. Okay, that is Gm V pi. Voltage across R pi is V pi. So this I1 is nothing but Gm V pi. It is dependent current source. Determine the voltage gain of the amplifier, that is V out by V in. We have to find out of this small signal model of an amplifier. Solution is what is here. We must compute V out in terms of V in. That is, we must eliminate V pi from the equation. Writing KVL in the input loop here in this loop. What do you get? We get V in equals to V pi. See, voltage between these 2 points is what? Nothing but V pi across this resistor R pi, and which is equal to V in. Nothing difficult to understand? Yes or no? Shashank?
Yes, sir.
And hence Gm V pi. So this V pi is nothing but V in. So we can write Gm V in. Okay. A KCL at the output node yields what here in this output node. Gm V pi is one current component here, and that is this one. Gm V pi plus V out by RL equals to 0. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
KCL,
Yes, sir.
simple KCL you have studied a lot, network theory you have studied. So this is the current we get, current equation. It follows that V out by V in equals to minus Gm RL. This is understood? Because we know V, here you have the V pi, but which is equals to V in. So using that, we can write V out by V in, which is actually gain of this amplifier is minus Gm into RL, load resistance. This is load resistance. Understood? Note that the circuit amplifies the input if Gm RL is greater than 1. Unimportant, in most cases, the negative sign, what this negative sign is indicating, it is nothing but it is inverting. The input voltage is inverted. The voltage across the RL is inverted version of the V in or input voltage. Inverted means maybe 180 degree out of phase. It is 180 degree out of phase. সৌমিত্র চল বলো। আমি কল করেছিলাম কিন্তু হয়তো তুমি লেট ছিলে। এটা হচ্ছে যে আজকে অ্যানালগ হচ্ছে, কিন্তু এতে তুমি জয়েন করতে পারো না করতে পারো। অ্যানালগ সার্কিট আমি আজকে স্টার্ট করেছি, 5th মডিউল স্টার্ট করেছি। তোমার ওটা দেখতে পাচ্ছি না, দেখি লাস্টের দিকে আছে কি। হ্যাঁ করলাম, দেখো জয়েন করতে করো, নাহলে ছেড়ে দাও। অ্যানালগ so it is well understood that Gm RL if greater than 1, then gain will be there, and this negative sign indicates inversion of the input voltage out 180 degree out of phase. Okay, understood, Kartik Rai?
Yes, sir.
Okay, another example is given here to find out this example is going to show how to find out the output impedance. Suppose that the input voltage source, and the amplifier are shown in this figure are replaced by a box. I mean to say, all things are put into a box. Now we have two terminals here. Determine the Thevenin equivalent of the circuit. How to find out that? These are all known to you, but it is just refreshing your mind. You must compute the open circuit output voltage and impedance seen when looking into the output port. I mean, in this direction you are looking at. The Thevenin voltage is obtained from the figure, this figure, and equation 1.9. 1.9 already we have seen here. D out by B equals to minus GMRL. Okay. So V Thevenin equals to V out, which is nothing but equals to minus GMRL into B in. Is it understood? To calculate the RTH or R Thevenin, we said V in equals to 0. See, what you do is to find out the output impedance of this circuit, you set the independent voltage source 0 by putting a short. So it is 0. So if that is 0, then voltage across R pi is 0, B pi is 0. So what you get here, I is equals to what? The GM B pi. So B pi is 0 means what? This current, dependent current source is 0. Zero current source is what? How we can make a zero current source? By opening it. Okay. So if you open, basically it will not exist actually. Or you have to, if you want to show, then it is to be shown like it is not there, or you just assume. Okay, assume. So then what is the resistance at the output terminal? If you look from this side, what is the resistance? Vx you have applied, which is external supply source, and you are measuring the current Ix. So Vx by Ix or is the actually Vx by Rx is the resistance. RL actually is going to be the resistance, output resistance. Okay, or you can say voltage across this is nothing Vx. So Ix into RL is then that voltage. That way you can think of. How do we solve this circuit in B? We must again eliminate V pi. Fortunately, since both terminals of R pi are tied to ground, this terminal is ground, this terminal is ground, because B in equals to 0 by shorting it. V pi equals to 0 and GM V pi equals to 0. This circuit thus reduces to nothing but Ix equals to Vx by RL, or Vx equals to Ix RL. That is R Thevenin equals to RL. So these fundamental things are known to you, so we'll go a little fast. Now see this diagram and let us consider what we understand from here. Consider the voltage dependent current source depicted in this circuit. This is the voltage dependent current source, where I1 is proportional to K V1, or I1 equals to K V1. Proportionality constant is K. Note that K has a dimension of inverse of resistance. For example, K equals to 0.001 ohm inverse. An input voltage of 1 volt yields an output current of 1 milliampere. This is an example given. Let us now construct this circuit shown in figure B, where a voltage source V in. Normally, in future, we'll be writing VGS, right? When we are going to deal with MOSFETs, we'll write VGS. Where a voltage V in controls I1, and this K we are going to write GM, and GM is delta ID by delta VGS, which we know, okay, already. So where a voltage source V in controls the I1 and the output current flows through a load resistor RL. Okay, what do you do in a MOSFET? We apply gate voltage which controls the basically resistance of the channel, and hence current flowing through that is controlled. If applied voltage, gate voltage is less, channel resistance is more and current is less. If you apply higher voltage at the gate, then channel resistance will be less and more current will flow. Basically, ID is controlled by VG. Okay, here I1 is written. Okay. So this voltage dependent current source is GM VGS in our MOSFET case. It has been denoted with a generic notation like K and L. So we'll be writing in future as say GM VGS. So anyway, producing V out is what is producing that current is flowing, and here in this loop, if you consider how this voltage is produced, we can think of. Okay, our objective is to demonstrate that this current can operate as an amplifier. The circuit can operate as an amplifier, and basically it is a small signal model of CS amplifier. You can think of. We'll see later on. Okay, from this generic diagram, we will see specific diagram later on. So our objective is to determine, demonstrate that this circuit can operate as an amplifier if V out is an amplified replica of V in. V out across this RL is an amplified version of V in. Since V1 equals to V in, V out equals to minus RL I1. We have V out equals to this thing. Nothing we have done here. What we have done is V out equals to I1 RL. In this, we have replaced I1. I1 we have put here K V1, and V1 is V in, so we get this equation. So if K RL greater than 1, then this circuit will amplify the input signal. The negative sign given here, once again, in this equation is nothing but it is indicating that it is a output is an inverted replica of the input. The amplification factor, voltage gain, AV, is given by V out by V in, which is equal to minus K RL. Okay, here K, in our case of MOSFET, will be GM. K signifies how strongly V1, that is VGS, controls I1. Okay, that is a voltage control current source. Thus directly affecting the gain. So gain of a CS amplifier will depend on GM. Okay, if GM is higher, amplifier gain will be more. Okay, amplifier gain will be more. Normally AV in case of CS amplifier will be given as minus GM, then RO parallel RD if you have a resistance like this. Suppose this is your RD and RO is its internal resistance or small signal resistance. Then suppose you are driving it with a voltage source. Okay, then it may act as an amplifier. Of course, it has to be biased properly in a saturation region. So this amplifier gain can be written as minus GM RO parallel RD, okay, where RD is the drain resistance. Drain to this is VDD. Okay, we'll see that later on. Now we'll gradually look at little fundamental things. See, we are going to overview the MOSFETs once again very quickly. We know the P-type substrate is taken, insulator is SiO2, and on top of that you have the polysilicon gate. This is the structure, like a MOSFET and like a capacitor. MOSFET is like a capacitor. Okay. If you apply a V1, nothing but VGS, you can think of VGS, then positive charges are deposited on the polysilicon, gate material, and correspondingly you will have the negative charge aligned here. Those negative charges are called inversion layer. Basically, it is a P-type substrate, so holes are there, but here inversion layer is negative or electron based, so it is called inversion layer. It is inverted from P-type to N-type. The surface region or the channel region is inverted in this way. The point is where from these electrons comes once it is a P-type substrate. Can anybody say? Harshvardhan Agarwal? Harshvardhan Agarwal is there? No, he is absent. Harshvardhan, you are absent. So minority carrier, as you said, you are correct. So minority carrier generated due to heat. Even at room temperature, we'll have electron hole pair generated always. So those minority carriers are attracted if the gate field is strong enough. Now, if you apply a voltage from this side, okay, to this side, as has been shown here in this diagram, a current will flow. Electron will be pushed by the negative terminal of the battery in this direction, and conventional current from D to source or N to source. This is known to us. A lot of discussion has been gone. Once again, I am showing. Now, the structure I have shown always in this way. Front or cross-sectional view, I have shown. See the three-dimensional view, you can see the top also, top region. I have shown only this cross-section. Okay. This top view of the drain region and source region, you can see. Then this is SiO2. Okay. And here you have the polysilicon. This layer is polysilicon gate material. So electrons will flow in this direction, okay, in this direction, and reach to drain and flow through the external wear. That's what is going to happen. How? In this region, under the SiO2. It is not from top. It is not from the top. Length and width is shown here. Width is in this direction, and length in the bottom here, L. Okay. One dimension is not given, that is xj, depth of n plus region in case of n MOSFET, and p plus region in case of the MOSFET. Is it understood? The structure is clear. Those who are in the beginning not present, that for them it is structure is clear. Oxide thickness is this one. Thickness here I have shown. Should I go to the next slide? Are you understanding, Himanshu Sogra?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The author is telling that the typical dimension of the today's MOSFET, of course, 180 nanometer technology generation is showing, because oxide thickness shown is 18 angstrom, which is nothing but 1.8 nanometer. Okay, oxide thickness talks.
So it will be 180 nanometer, right?
180 nanometer. No, oxide thickness 180. This thickness is what? 1.18 angstrom means what? 1.8 nanometer or not?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So oxide thickness, it is talking about oxide thickness. Nowadays, oxide thickness we simulate. We have already started. 22 nanometer technology means nanometer technology. As it means T ox will be 0.8 nanometer. Okay, if you go down to 16 nanometer technology, then TOX will be 0.7 nanometer if you see the PTM library file. Okay, so here it is talking about 18 angstrom means 1.8 nanometer. Today even it has been advanced. Anyway, and the channel length shown by this diagram is 90 nanometer. So we already have discussed that here diodes exist, reverse bias diodes exist. Now, more or less we have studied everything, formation of channel, how channel is formed, you apply the gate voltage and inversion layer is formed. MOSFET as a resistor, we also know in triode region or resistive region, MOSFET behaves like a resistor, linear resistor. Then cut off, a pinch off region, the saturation region where the drain side is pinched off. IV characteristic like IDVDS, IGVGS we have also seen. Then channel charge density, I mean, what is the concentration of inversion layer, that also we know. If you apply the gate voltage, more electrons will be there, resistance of the channel will be less. Drain current equation, triode region, saturation region, transconductance, just now I told you, GM is equals to delta I divided delta VGS. Channel length modulation effect, we know. Body effect, we know what is body effect, by the way. We can say, Prem Prabhat, can you say what is body effect? No idea?
So the body acts as a second gate.
It acts as a second gate. If you apply voltage there, positive VBS is negative or negative VBS, then threshold voltage of the MOSFET varies, changes. For negative VBS, threshold voltage will be increased. For positive VBS, threshold voltage will be decreased from the nominal value. Okay, nominal value means that VBS which is 0, means body and source are tied together, right? Understood? Velocity saturation also we have discussed. Anyway, let us go further. What is written there? See, long back in 1925, Lilienfeld first proposed a MOSFET, and if you see that diagram, I have seen in his paper, patent, you got a patent also for that. That structure is quite different, like a capacitor only. Anyway, his work, even though long back before BJT, it was not popular. I mean, rather BJT was popular in around 60s, 1960s or even 70s, because there was basic problems in MOSFET, especially in the oxide and silicon interface, substrate and your oxide. You have this silicon P-type substrate, and on top of that you have the silicon dioxide. In this interface, a lot of problems are there. Initial attempts in this interface is not good. It was having a lot of surface states or defects, then kind of imperfections. Here you have the silicon, and at the top you have the silicon dioxide. So covalent bond was not perfect, or imperfection was there. So that all, and moreover, some in the silicon dioxide, lot of alkalis like potassium, etc., sodium, etc., ion were there. So those ions were creating problems. It was a terminating point of the electrical field coming from the top, that is from gate. Okay, so threshold voltage was not constant for different MOSFETs. Suppose you are fabricating MOSFETs in one lot, it is showing some threshold voltage. If you go for fabrication in the another lot, you will find that MOSFETs are having different threshold voltage. So it was not reproducible. MOSFETs are not reproducible. So if MOSFET is not having stable or predefined or constant threshold voltage, then circuit designing will be difficult. You cannot, because threshold voltage is going to control your current and all speed of the circuits also. So it was difficult initially. So BJT was popular even though MOSFET was invented earlier. So as semiconductor technology advanced and clean rooms were invented for fabrication, the oxide could be grown on silicon with almost no surface states, leading a high transconductance. GM could be improved, stable VT could be achieved. Okay. Now, what is clean room? The definition of clean room you see here I have written: open air contains 3.5 crore. Crore spelling is a mistake. Crore particles of size 0.5 micrometer or bigger per cubic meter. Per cubic meter, how many? 3.5 crore particles are there in the air, open air. Dust particle or many other particles. Whereas clean room allows only 12 particles of size 0.3 micrometer or smaller per cubic meter. So creating open room is a very tough task. It's not easy. In open area, you cannot fabricate a chip, MOSFET chip or today's chip, whatever we do. It is to be done in the clean room. Otherwise, you will have a lot of problems which was occurring earlier. That is the main thing I wanted to say. So there is a question normally I used to ask earlier. Although MOSFET was invented earlier than BJT, the MOS device was not manufactured until the mid-60s because its electrical characteristics were unstable and non-producible. Why? The reason is here. Due to the presence of charges, defects and imperfections, that is unsatisfied bonds at the SiSO2 interface, and minute concentration of alkali ions like Na or K ions, potassium or and the MOS gate dielectrics. The drift of these ions used to drift. Drift of these ions caused unstable IV characteristic of MOS devices. Another question: charges present in the insulator layer or at the SiSO2 interface affect the underlying semiconductor surface. How it is done? These charges provide termination point for the vertical electric field lines originating from the gate electrode of the MOSFET. What do you understand by this? You have gate material, okay, it is substrate. You have the this is silicon dioxide on top of. Yes.
We saw this concept in hot carrier injection also.
You might have seen that. See, this is the gate, and you have the substrate, say body terminal. I am showing here itself. So positive charges are deposited when you apply the gate voltage, right? And electrical field is emanated from every charge, and they are supposed to every charge. Electrical field supposed to attract one electrons to invert the surface region. Okay, this is we are expecting. But if you have a charge here, say positive charge here or negative charge is here, something is there, so it may terminate here. Instead of able to create an inversion layer here, it may terminate if you have some charge. Okay, and hence what will happen? Threshold voltage will increase. Yes or no? Higher gate voltage will be required to create inversion layer, isn't it? So that's what is written here. The charges provide termination points for the vertical electric field lines originating from the gate electrode of a MOSFET. Is it understood? Prajwal?
Yes, sir.
So now the silicon dioxide has been made very perfectly. There is no impurities in that, no defects. So MOSFETs are now reigning the industry. Further structures of MOSFETs are the same thing, same concept. If you increase the VGS, your density of charge carrier here in the inversion layer will be increased, as can be shown here. But remember that under the depletion, inversion layer, you will have the depletion layer. Okay, because holes are repelled by the positive charge of the gate. If holes are repelled, then what will happen? Negative ions will be there. That is shown. Anyway, further, what you see here, the conductive channel between S and D, means source and drain, can be viewed as a resistor, as you can see here. Furthermore, since the density of the electrons in the channel must increase as Vg increases, the value of this resistor changes with the gate voltage. Conceptually, it is illustrated here. It is you can say that MOSFET is a voltage dependent resistor. It is a voltage dependent resistor, which will be useful for analyzing analog and digital circuits. A MOSFET can form a voltage control attenuator along with a resistor as shown here. See, the channel resistance is lumped as Rm, and you have the say load resistance. This one is load resistance connected at the drain terminal. So we can write this one, V out by V in equals to R1 by Rm plus R1. So it is a attenuator or not?
Yes, sir.
The output signal becomes small as V control falls because the density of the electrons in the channel decreases and Rm rises. MOSFETs are commonly utilized as voltage dependent resistors in variable gain amplifier. These concepts are already known, but still we'll discuss to understand more. Gate voltage, positive gate voltage in case of MOSFET is applied, and drain voltage with respect to source is applied, Vd. And this structure, if you remove, then you get actually this kind of circuit representation of these things. And if you increase the Vg, initially you see that there is no current ID to the device till this point, till threshold voltage is reached. VGS is nothing but what? Threshold voltage is nothing but what? VGS, at which sufficient gate voltage current starts flowing. You can see that it is exponentially increasing. It is nothing but ID VGS characteristics, this B1. And the C, diagram C shows the ID VD characteristics, okay, or output characteristics. Here you have fixed the gate voltage and you are changing the VD. You are changing the drain voltage or VDS. And this one, this diagram is what? The ID VD characteristics for various gate voltage. VG you have used as a parameter. Okay, a different value of VG applied, and I have simulated, I think, in the last Saturday. Yes, Rajwal? Yes, I have simulated all those things. So those who are present there, they'll be understanding easily. Now, certain things which already we know, we are going to discuss here. See, if you increase the channel length, the figure number A, if you increase the channel length, what happens here? Current is decreasing. See, here, see the diagram. Channel length is small device. Channel length is less. Other things remaining same. See the XJ same, oxide thickness same. Only thing, the length wise it is increased. If L is longer, what will happen? See, L is at the denominator, so current will decrease. So it goes with our understanding and whatever we have discussed earlier. Yes or no, Kartik Rai?
Yes, sir.
Okay, figure B is showing what? Figure B, IDVD characteristic for different channel lengths. Okay, different channel length here. in figure number C. What is done is oxide thickness changes. If you increase the oxide thickness, current is going to decrease. As you can see, the Cox is what? Cox in this equation, Cox equals to what? Epsilon 0, epsilon R, A, nothing but
Tox.
Tox is going to be at the denominator. So if you increase the Tox, ID will decrease or increase?
Decrease.
What is happening?
Tox increases, it is inversely proportional.
If Tox is decreased, Cox is increasing. No. What is happening to this fellow?
So when Tox is increased, Cox decreases and ID
so current
decreases.
is decreases. Okay, current is decreased. That is shown here. Okay, that is shown. And the D is increasing, showing what? ID/VD characteristics for different oxide thickness. Same thing. Oxide thickness, ID/VG. This is ID/VG. This is ID/VDS. Okay, this is the difference. This is ID/VG. This is ID/VD. Okay, both case is well understood. Okay.
So only the slope is decreased.
Slope is decreased. This is linear region possibly because you have applied less VDS. So after that, what will happen? It will be in a saturation region. I mean, if it is a long channel device. Okay. Otherwise, it will be something like this, isn't it? In a ID/VDS plot, it looks like this in saturation region. It may be saturated. In case of very long channel MOSFET, in a short channel MOSFET, it will be almost linearly increasing with VDS.
Yes, sir.
I hope it is all understood.
Yes, sir.
What else here given? Let us try to understand. Dimensions of the MOSFET. The blue and yes.
It's already 9:04. We have another class now.
Okay, we'll discuss from here the next class. Next class on 26th of 10. So if you have any doubt in the fourth module, put a request with the date and time for the extra class.